Hi, I'm Chris Lynch. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be about another one about the wonder of men's work as it unfolds for me. So as I mentioned in some other videos, I initiated into the Mankind Project in 2017 here at Camp Whitman in Genesee, Geneva, New York at Lake Seneca. An amazing experience. And but on the other side, and then at the same time, roughly the same time in my life, 4 months later, I was formally diagnosed with autism. I began exploring what it meant to have PTSD. And I was also trying to rebuild my life from being homeless and going through brain rehab and getting language to sync back up and a whole lot of other things coming off the streets. And then eventually getting service connected with the understanding that my military service counted, um, getting reestablished with competent medical care and stuff like that. So I've had a lot to figure out, and I know that one of the most difficult things that I've had been in terms of something that I'm only now able to see more correctly, and that's that the profound effect of having had aphasia, experiencing aphasia without knowing I had experienced it, and doing so from my form of autism. Before I fell, there were certain ways that I had of processing that didn't involve words that saw everything as a kind of music. And I didn't try to do that, I just could do that. And because I could do that, that gave me a sort of express way to learn certain things. I could learn music much more easily. Mathematics came very easily. Um, because there was a way of gathering information and learning it that I didn't have to do linearly and cognitively. I did it, I don't know, with my body somehow. I could just hear my way through correct reasoning, and I could learn things as complete structures rather than piecing them together one at a time. And I could just do that. So when I fell, and for a while I was robbed of the ability to understand how to apply context again, or what context was, for a time I was perceiving the world without the names of the objects of my perception. It also meant I had awareness of my own body, my own feelings, my own thoughts, my beliefs, without the names for them as well. I existed for a time without a name. Very weird. I lived in the world without knowing what the world was, without being able to grab hold of the tool that decided what things were. And that was horrible for a language system that needs to relate to the outside world. And caused no problem at all to that autistic sensibility that could see things as a whole and engage with things in terms of what they did rather than what they meant. When things sync back up post brain rehab, I have been trying to take those two different ways of perceiving my own experience in terms of what it does and what it means and merge them into a single world because I thought, oh, it's just a little thing. That has not worked. It's repeatedly failed. It's been very hard, very frustrating, very scary. Every time it failed, I would blame myself and get down on myself, and it's horrible and it's hopeless. But I'm coming to understand that just because I am able to go back and apply words to the experiences that happened back then without words, it doesn't change the nature of the experience itself. The ability to apply language to the wordless experience does not magically make it unwordless. It makes it a wordless experience that I found words for later. That's a really strange kind of sensibility, but it seems to be the most reasonable way to start in anything. So one of those difficult things I had in terms of integrating after the project, initiating into the project, was trying to understand what men's work was about in terms of shared context and the cultural agreements and the cognitive things, and that failed miserably. And so then a lot of the self care I'd had been dealing with the pain of not being able to fit in or understand how to understand men's work in a way that was relatable. Very slowly over time, I've come to have a different perspective because I started letting go of the fact that initiation wasn't what I was told it was and looking at the fact that I was initiated at all. And then I processed that logically that there's no functional understanding of my neurological situation. Therefore, there was no functional understanding out of which a mode of initiation could have been built for me. And yet the initiation happened. And that tells me that something worked, even if it wasn't cognitive or intentional. There's some kind of power in what was happening. And so then when I started looking at what works rather than what failed, I started finding my own perspective for what men's work was about. And very slowly, that's become a working model that I can understand. And it's the same as the model I find when I work with somebody in sobriety. Um, and what I found that the model was about is that um, there's probably lots of ways to do it, but Mankind Project creates a method of initiation so that it's sort of setting a situation for another man, a new man, to engage with his own experience, find his own voice for his own experience, and be honored and respected in his own process in a way that he can understand. There's probably lots of ways, but MKP finds ways that men can understand and they can recognize the understanding. They can recognize being helped in a way that they can see the process consciously. And so when one man helps another man in a way he can understand, so he can name it, he can put his hands on the tools that are happening, then he gets to experience a relationship with another man in a helpful way, non-shaming way, a sacred way, that he can be conscious about. And he gets to experience what it feels like in his own person, being seen and respected and encouraged and believed in by someone else who can do that in like as another man and experience what that feels like. Out of that consciousness comes a lot of new ways of engaging with the world, because very often a man can be affirmed but can't necessarily be conscious about why or how he's being affirmed. Maybe somebody's being supportive emotionally. Maybe, I don't know, there's some kind of more subtle thing. But making conscious tools to engage with a man for the purpose of opening him to his own awareness, exploring his own awareness in a way that he can consciously see the things being done, is a new way of relating and new way of creating male culture. And so then I saw that. I don't look at the ideas about men's work that was the context that I first got. I look at the other way. The thing below that is the possibility that I can see a man, I can see another man, and he may have never been believed in his life. He may have never been told assertively in a way he can understand, that somebody else sees him and wants him to find his way in the way that makes sense to him, that believes in his own relationship with his problems, his solutions, his frustrations, his feelings, his ideas, the struggle, the winning, the losing, all of that kind of stuff, his own process, his process of his process. Many people I find have never been believed in that way, and especially men have never had words for that. And so what I've come to understand is that part of what I do, maybe because God made me a writer, I instinctually need to find words for what I struggle with. But the passion of mine and the wonder is to see the amazing effect of what happens when I try to share my knowing in a way that's actively believing in the listener, in believing that the universe, God, whatever, knows how to make every person in the way that's right for them, and then saying that openly, consciously, in a way that they can see, and then they get a chance to feel what that feels like to be seen without being controlled or meddled with or anything like that. I believe that by creating the spirit of invitation in men's work, that the process of it is to find ways, for me anyway, to bless and invite as a man for whom that has been done. And then to be more conscious and more intentional about how I voice that, so that the fact that I could talk about it doesn't make it any less mysterious and amazing, because whatever initiated me is a resource in the male world that was done outside of cognitive intention. That's an immense power. That's very mysterious. I can't lay hold of it, but I can learn and explore cooperating with it as I feel it in myself. When I feel it in myself, I can affirm that in other men, and they get to experience what it feels like to be believed in and encouraged to find their own voice, their own way. I have no idea if that video made sense, but that's all I've got. Thanks. Bye.